Om Shri Sai Ram. We offer our most loving pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet, and it gives us great delight to join you all in this special satsang as we begin another beautiful festival in Prasanthi Nilayam. Though we are saying that it's another beautiful festival, it is one of the most important festivals on the calendar of Prasanthi, because this is a festival that is being celebrated right from the early 1940s after Swami had declared his avatarhood. Many important events have happened during this festival, and it's none other than the Dasara celebrations. There are many festivals in the Indian calendar. We all know about it. The birthdays of avatars, of saints, important astronomical events are marked by festivals. But Dasara comes as part of a very important observance for a spiritual sadhaka. In fact, Swami tells this in a very beautiful discourse where he says there are three festivals which are particularly important for the sadhaka: the Sankranti, the Shivaratri, and the Navaratri. And what Swami says there is very interesting. Swami says that when you talk about the Sankranti, Swami always makes a reference to the Uttarayana.
Yes.
Right, the period where the sun turns northward. And Swami says similarly, the mind of a sadhaka should turn towards God. Swami says the Sankranti marks the beginning of the journey of a sadhaka, where he says that now I need to turn myself to the spiritual goal. Shivratri marks an occasion, as Swami has spoken of many times, where the mind is at the weakest in a sense, that it can be controlled and overpowered by the buddhi. And Swami also says there are many Shivratris, but the Mahashivratri that comes in the end of February, March is very significant in that sense. And when we speak of in that sequence, the Dasara becomes the occasion where the complete annihilation of all the flaws of the mind happen.
Yes.
Because when we speak of the Navaratri, the Devis, who eventually overpowered the Mahishasura, who represents all the qualities that are born out of the quality of tamas. So that is the complete annihilation of all of the qualities that pull us down away from divinity. And of course, if we were to add one more to that list, Deepavali, as Swami says, is the occasion where Lord Rama finally goes back to Ayodhya. And Swami says that Rama represents the Atma Rama, the Atma. So when the Atma reigns supreme, it becomes Deepavali. So the four festivals, or the three festivals as we mentioned, speak of the journey of the sadhaka. And that's why Dasara is a very important festival where we turn inward, and if we make the sincere efforts, Swami says that you have the ability to annihilate all of these bad qualities represented by the six inner enemies or the tamas, or there are different ways of looking at it. But this is essentially the journey, and that's why Dasara is a very significant festival which is being observed, as we said, right from the 1940s. In fact, as an important event, I think 1946 it started. But nevertheless, every Dasara has been special around Swami. So we are delighted, dear listeners and viewers, to join you on the eve of another beautiful and significant Dasara celebrations in Prasanthi Nilayam.
Beautiful, Prem. Now, as you mentioned about these four significant festivals for our spiritual growth, when you think about it, one of the aims of spiritual progress, spiritual journey is purity, right?
Right.
Purity is the essence of all sadhana, Swami says. And if you see what Dasara does, is enabling you in this process of purification, which is a must before you can actually reach the stage of enlightenment, which is the Deepavali stage, the light and enlightenment festival. And Bhagawan says that purity can happen through sama and dhamma, through the practice of being able to overcome the vasanas, the vagaries of the senses. And Swami says this Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, these three principles, they give you arogya, prabhutva and jnana. They give you health, they give you prosperity, they give you wisdom. At the same time, Swami says, one glance of the mother will confer on you Dhamma, the power to be able to control the various indriyas, the various sense organs. And Swami says, listening to my discourses will give you the power of sama. Again, one thing is to have the power to not go after the senses. And the second thing is, even at the root stage, not even get those kind of desires. So sama and tama, both we need to be able to progress on the spiritual path. And Swami says, finally, sama, dhamma and prema. And this prema, you get it only from the mother. Nobody can love you like the Divine Mother can love you. And that is the reason why the Dasara festival is such a important sadhana festival for all of us. And if you look at it, you mentioned about the annihilation. And what do we see in Dasara? We see the festival of Vibhuti in Dasara. If you have seen all this beautiful footage of Bhagawan, putting his hand into the empty urn and the cascade of Vibhuti flowing down, that happened on Vijayadashmi.
Right.
That happened during every Dasara. And going back to the first Dasara, the Dasara of 1946, on that occasion, Bhagavan calls Seshagiri Rao, the Mandir priest, and Swami asked him to bring a vessel. And Swami just rubs his fingers onto that vessel, and what flows is a stream of uninterrupted vibhuti. And that vibhuti is what is distributed to everyone as prasadam. So right from the 1946 days, vibhuti has been the message, grace as well as that annihilation of all our urges and spiritual upliftment. That has been the theme of Dasara, and that is the reason why Swami has packed the Dasara festival with so many sadhanas, isn't it? In the earlier days, Kumkumarchana used to happen.
Right.
Swami used to sit for the Lalita Sahasranam chanting done by the women in the Pathamandiram days. The entire session Swami would sit, because they would be given photographs and they would be given rice and kumkum, and the puja would happen. Swami would sit for the entire, even now you have always this Kumkumarchana puja, and along with that you have so many other sadhanas. You have the Rudram going on, you have the scriptures being read, Ramayana being read, Devi Saptasati, Devi Mahatmyam being read. So you see, Dasara is that festival of sadhana. It is that beautiful, glorious window of opportunity for us to grow on the spiritual path. And since the mother is the one who is more kind than anyone else to confer on you that love, that mercy, and that strength that you need on the spiritual path, I think this festival comes at that crucial juncture of Indian festivals and in our spiritual sadhana, so that we can worship these divine forms of the mother and thereby be blessed with sama, dhamma and prema.
Very beautiful. And even as you were recollecting the various worships and sadhanas that Swami would inspire and ask people to do, as we've always seen, Swami never misses an opportunity to root us back to the essence of all of these practices, the whole idea and the philosophy behind all of this. In fact, as you were saying, the Kumkumarchana was an important part of the Sumangali Puja, which used to happen, where traditionally in Indian culture, the married women perform certain worships during this Navaratri festival. So the Sumangali Puja, those whose married women whose husbands were still alive, right? They are considered to be auspicious in all important festivals. They are brought into the front and made to participate in some of these rituals. So when the Sumangali Puja was being celebrated in one of the early dasharas in the Pathamandir, there were some widowed devotees of Swami who did not come forward to perform this worship because they said this is Sumangali Puja and we are not Sumangalis, we shouldn't come. So apparently during one of those pujas, Swami looked around and Swami specifically asked for these devotees, why are they not here? Swami said, call them, ask them to come forward. And when they came, Swami asked them, why have you not sat down for this puja? They said, Swami, we are not Sumangalis. Then Swami asked, who is a Sumangali? Right? And then Swami gave this beautiful explanation. He said, the Lord is referred to as Pati. Right? Pati also means husband. Pati also means the master or the Lord.
Swami also means master.
Right? So Swami said, when you come to me and you say, Swami, we surrender to you. You are our Lord. You have established me as your Pati in your heart. When I am the Pati in your heart, how can your life be amangala?
Exactly.
Inauspicious. The moment I become the Pati in your heart, your life has become auspicious. You become Sumangali. So we said, sit down and do this worship. So what a important message Swami is giving. You do not become auspicious by any status of marital status that you have in your life, but only when you establish the Lord as your master in your heart, you become a true Sumangali. And talking of this occasion, we worship Swami as the mother. There is a beautiful episode. I always remember this as we go into Dasara. It was the Dasara of 1961. And for that October's edition of Sanatan Sarati, Professor Kasturi had come up with a brilliant idea. In his mind, a brilliant idea. As we all know, there is a beautiful picture of Swami that always goes through as part of the edition of Sanatan Sarati. So because it was on the occasion of Dasara, what he had done was, he had put a picture of Durga Mata on one side, and beside it, he had put a beautiful picture of Swami, who looked very feminine and very motherly. So under the picture of Durga Mata, he had written Durga Mata. And under the picture of Swami, he had written Satya Sai Mata. So he was very happy with himself that he had come up with this idea. As always, he took the edition of Sanatan Sarati to Swami before it went into print. Swami looked at both the pictures, and perhaps he was expecting Swami to appreciate him. But Swami looks at it and Swami points to the letters under his picture. And Swami says, change this. Let it not be Satya Sai Mata. And Swami very profoundly added, let it read Satya Mata. And then Swami explained, because only this is Satya Mata, all else is Mithya Mata. The meaning of that is, only this form, only this Swami, only this Lord is the true mother. All others are mothers who come and go, who play a limited role, right? Mithya is a very beautiful word in Sanskrit that does not mean asatya. Asatya is the antonym for Satya, right? Untruth. Mithya is, it is true for a brief period. It appears true for a brief period. And Swami says, all other mothers that you worship and you adore, and the physical mother that you have is a mother for a brief time. But I am the Satya Mata. I remember a very beautiful episode. Before I take more time, thought I'll narrate that.
Sure.
Swami had called a family for an interview. And in the family, there was the mother, the father, and the grandfather of the father. And there was a daughter and a son. So Swami was talking to the son in this family. And Swami was explaining something. And suddenly Swami said, who is this? Pointing to the mother. The boy was a little surprised because he thought Swami knew the relationships of everybody gathered there. He said, Swami, she's my mother. Then Swami points to the grandfather and asks, who is he to her? And he says, Swami, he's father-in-law to my mother. And then Swami asks, who is this daughter? Points at different people and says, okay, this is her husband, father-in-law, daughter. And then Swami asks, when you get married, who will she be to her? So the boy blushes because he's about 14 or 13-year-old. And then Swami says, she will be a mother-in-law to your wife. Okay. And then Swami says, see, the same lady, she's a mother to you, daughter-in-law to someone, wife to someone, mother to someone, mother-in-law to someone. Right? The same one playing different roles. Then Swami said, but look at me. I am mother to you. I am mother to your father. I am mother to your grandfather. And when you get a wife, I will be a mother to her too. Right? I will not be a mother-in-law. I will be a mother-in-love, as Swami beautifully plays.
Mother-in-love.
Right? And Swami says, that is why I am the true mother. Because I am mother to everyone. And what a beautiful way of explaining it to a little child and explaining it to all of us through that. And that is why he is the Satya Mata. Right? And that is why we are worshipping him on Dasara. And this festival is so significant because of that.
Absolutely. Now, when you mention about Satya Mata and how Bhagawan said, you cannot go by the worldly labels of Sumangali. Swami very beautifully tells Padma Kasturi Madam, the daughter of Professor Kasturi, that all other relationships are nirbandham. Only sambandham, though in our worldly colloquial usage, for any relationship we call sambandham, but actually Swami said they are all nirbandhams. The true sambandham is only with the divine.
Nirbandham literally means a commitment.
Commitment,
right?
yeah. Absolutely. So our relationship is only with that principle of truth, and that is what is Satya Mata. And at the same time, when you look at it also from the point of view of the way world looks at women, and this was again a beautiful aspect of women empowerment. When you think about it, Swami said, don't distinguish women based on their marital status or whatever. That principle of giving that right status and dignity to womanhood, that also so beautifully comes out. We actually know how to worship mother, how to worship this feminine principle. When an avatar comes down, we get beautiful knowledge of it, we get beautiful demonstration of it, as well as we go back to the scriptures to understand how it should be actually be practiced. And in fact, if you look at all the 9 forms of the mother that is generally worshipped, you actually get a lovely elaboration of this idea of woman empowerment. The first principle of the mother, for example, is Shailaputri. So she is the daughter of the mountain. And what happens there? You are celebrating the feminine principle as a gift of nature. And then she is a very simple goddess. If you see, just 2 hands. And at Shailaputri, what we are doing is we are celebrating the first goddess, who is very simple, no weapons, nothing. It is the celebration of the girl child. So the first step in woman empowerment is celebration of the arrival of a girl child. And I think that is so beautifully depicted in the first form of the mother that we worship as Shailaputri. And then you move on. You have Brahmacharini, the next form of the mother in Navadurgas or Navaratri Puja. Brahmacharini, the mother is dressed in white. And the mother is not having weapons. The mother is having a japa. The mother is having a kamandalu. So the mother is fully focused on learning. Learning what? Learning Atma Vidya. Because at this stage, you're supposed to be very focused on gathering knowledge. And in fact, when you look at the white dress, it really reminds us of the Gurukulam that Swami has established, our institutions. It reminds me of the Anandpur campus, where, you have all the women being provided free education, and education which is secular as well as spiritual. And the focus, so at that stage, if you look at the life of Parvati also, at the stage of Brahmacharini, her focus was, I want Shiva. That's all she wanted. Goal setting is very clear. Goal is only Atma Vidya. I want only Shiva. So at Brahmacharini stage, that's the second form of the life of a woman we are celebrating. You are born, the world celebrates you. Now you acquire knowledge. Knowledge that will be useful in the world. And then you move on to the third stage, which is the stage of Chandraghanta. So in Chandraghanta, now the woman, the deity that we are worshipping, the mother, has all the 8 weapons. She is in her full potential. She is like an accomplished woman. She has all the attributes and skills and talents that are needed for her to be successful. Here, if you map the woman empowerment philosophy, here we are talking about, once you're educated, now you have all the skills, now you go out and you achieve. Be the fully blossomed self. And so at Chandraghanta stage, you are representing that woman who is going out. So Swami used to always say that, it is necessary for the woman to share the burden of maintaining the family. It's not always only the responsibility of the husbands. So you are talking about a woman who is a support to the family, who is a support to the society, and she is fully accomplished. She has converted her knowledge into skill. She's converted her skill into achieving balance in life and accomplishing things. And here, when I was thinking about this in terms of today's environment and women empowerment, you have this talk of, more women should be joining the workforce and more participation of women in today's societies in various roles. Bhagawan should always talk about that. And we have seen also in workplaces where there are more women, Swami used to say there will be more samata, there will be more samagrata, there will be more samabhatrutva, there will be more unity, there will be more integrity. So that is the difference that women bring into the workforce. And there's an interesting study also which says, even though the woman participation in workforce is low in India and also in many countries, but it is always noticed when the world is going through any crisis, the woman participation doubles, it increases. If there is a crisis, it is the woman. The woman of the house will go out and work. It's the woman of the house will go out and serve the country, the society. So that is what is the glorious mother we are celebrating as Chandraghanta. And you move on. Then you have Kushumanda. So Kushumanda is the fourth form of the mother. And here so beautifully, the mother is having a mud pot. And the mud pot is the pot of honey. And honey represents the womb. So the mother, after having accomplished and expressed herself, now she's ready for motherhood. And that is so beautifully explained in this imagery of the mother. In fact, Kushumanda, if you go to the etymology, Kushumanda is warm egg. It's a small warm egg. She represents that cosmic egg principle. In fact, when you think about it, you look at all the mother principles of the universe, be it Mother Sita, be it Mother Parvati, be it Draupadi, all of them came from nature. Mother Draupadi came from fire. You look at Mother Sita came from Mother Earth. Parvati came from the mountains. So they don't come from the womb. It is everyone else who comes out of their womb. They are that cosmic egg. They are that Kushumanda principle. And one interesting scientific fact that I realized is in our human bodies, we have body which is composed of all these cells, and inside the cell you have mitochondria.
Right.
And the mitochondria, it is said, it is the energy currency of the cell. Right. It is the mitochondria. Right. It is the powerhouse. It is the powerhouse. So it is a mitochondria which converts our food into energy through cellular respiration. And they say around the nucleus, you have the fluid. In that, you have hundreds and thousands of mitochondria. All our DNA is in the nucleus, but our mitochondria also has its own DNA. And they say this DNA comes only from the mother. So this mitochondrial DNA is a maternal inheritance. So when you look at it, all that power that we have to convert everything that we are consuming into Shakti, that comes because of the mother, and that is so beautifully represented in Kushumanda.
There's this beautiful, I was talking about the October issue of Sanatan Sarthi. Professor Kasturi notes a very beautiful prayer that Swami gave on the sands of Chitravati, and especially when you're talking about the Kushumanda form.
Yes.
The prayer that Swami actually gave on that day, and which is published in the 1961 Sanatan Sarthi, Swami said that this is how you should pray to the Lord. Pray in this manner. O Mother, we all dwell in your womb. The mother bears all the pain that the infant in the womb gives her. She does not wish ill at all. She wants the infant should be strong and healthy. So too, bear with us. We may cause you pain by our wrongs, by our errors, our wants of care. In many births, we have so much of ill that we are now in the coils of karma. Pardon us. Wish us well as Durga. Keep us safe as Saraswati. Teach us how to reach the goal as Annapurna. As Annapurna, feed us with good food for this body, mind and spirit. Give us the eyes to see you as the Shakti that fills all things in all places. Wow. So Swami says the best way to worship God as Mother is to worship her as one who carries us in her womb.
Beautiful. And talking about the mother principle, when you move to the fifth form, after Kushumanda, you have the mother principle. The mother is now worshipped as Skandamata.
Skandamata. Right?
Now the mother is the mother who has actually become the mother. Skandamata is the mother of Kartikeya, if you look at the meaning, the mother of Muruga. And in Skandamata form, she is not having weapons. In Skandamata form, she's just having only lotuses on her hand,
Right.
No weapons. And it shows that very, very sublime form of the mother where she's full of love because her only focus is the child. I think that's what motherhood is all about, right? Only focus is the child, and her weapon is only that Vatsalya Prema. And Swami says it is that form which is full of sacrifice, because a mother can go to any extent for the sake of the child. And Swami Bhagawan used to always say that woman is the embodiment of sacrifice. And that is the symbolism of Skanda Mata. And when you move on, then you have the form of Katyayani. In Katyayani, she has become a mother, and now she, after becoming a mother and having nurtured the child, now she is back with her full form. In Katyayani, she is Durga. So she is now having 18 weapons in her hand, and she is that full form. She is that mother Durga who will go to any extent to protect her children. In this form, she annihilates Mahishasura. So when we celebrate the Durga Puja, it is that Katyayani form. It is the mother basically saying, I will unite the three worlds. I will get the power of what even Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara cannot do. I will do it. Nobody can do what a mother can do, because she is the full combination of the powers of the Trinity of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Creation, emergence and dissolution. So that is the extent to which a mother will go. And in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagawan mentions, right, how a man has only 3 attributes, but the woman have 7 attributes, right? The women are more powerful than men because of the way the divine has blessed them. They have fame, wealth, speech, wisdom, intelligence, fortitude, determination. Bhagavan would always talk about these unique aspects of the feminine principle. And after Katyayani comes the form of Kalaratri. Now it's a very dense form. It is mother who is depicted very dark. It is a form which can drive the daylight out of the demons. It is that form. It shows that fierce form that the mother can take when it comes to protecting dharma, protecting her child. It is that form which also represents the dark energy of the universe. We know that the universe is filled with dark energy, dark matter, and they say this dark matter is dark energy is constantly expanding. So it is that principle of this universe. And at the same time, what is it that gives solace to us during the day? It's the night, isn't it? It is that Ratri which re-energizes us, gives us comfort. Next, it's only because you have the night that you are refreshed during the day. It is that Kala Ratri principle. And then comes the principle of Mahagauri. So if you look at the entire stage of the feminine principle, so she's born, she gets educated, she acquires all the skills, she prepares herself for motherhood, she becomes the mother, she protects her child, and then after having completed all her responsibilities, Swami says the mother is so selfless that she would always think about the well-being of not just her child, but the well-being of everyone, of society. And Bhagavan used to give the example of Abhimanyu. When Abhimanyu died, Arjuna was very shattered because Arjuna felt, why am I doing this war? And there is nobody to inherit the kingdom that we will win if we, if you are victorious in the war. But Swami says, Subhadra had a different concern. Subhadra said, this is not good times. It is a harbinger of very unholy times, because when both the mother and father are there, the son has passed away, which means the Kali Yuga is coming. And that was the concern of Subhadra. She was worried that what is happening to society? Where are we headed now? So Mahagauri is that principle who has that broad-heartedness. We hear so many stories of freedom fighters, they have 4 children. A mother has 4 children, and one after another, she has sends all her children to go to the battlefield. And we have heard any number of stories. And we don't have to think far. When you look at the life of Mother Ishwaramma, all she wanted was, Swami, you look after the poor of the village, build a school for them, build a hospital for them, build a well for them. I think that's when the mother principle becomes Mahan, becomes great. And that's how it is Mahagauri. And once she becomes Mahagauri, then comes the final stage, Siddhidatri. Mm-hmm. So, when you're at that stage, you have accomplished everything and you have accomplished such exalted activities, then you automatically become divine. You are the one blessing everyone. You are the one who is giving the fruits of everyone's actions, because you have become that Siddhidatri. And that is the journey of a woman. And I feel that is a glorious elaboration of woman empowerment when we think about how it is given in our scriptures. And, just to talk about this, reminded of a little incident that happened way back in the 60s. So there was this person who came dressed in ochre robe, a monk, and he came and told Swami, tell me what sadhana I should do. What is the spiritual practice I need to do? I have come for guidance. And the moment Swami looked at him, Swami said, enough of your sadhana. There is no need for you to do any sadhana. He said, Swami, why, Swami? You should guide me. Swami said, what sadhana are you going to do? Each of your sadhana is useless, because you left your mother. You are the only child. Your father is no more. Your mother is crying there. There is no one to look after your mother. And you have donned the ochre robe. What are you going to achieve? Swami said, every time your mother cries, her every single drop washes away everything that you have attained or you can attain in your sadhana. Said, remove this ochre robe, go and serve your mother. Right. And I think that's a powerful statement.
Very dramatically. Apparently, Swami called him for an interview. And he, as you said, wanted to become a disciple of Swami, right? Take Diksha from Swami. And Swami gave him some money. And Swami said, just go outside and buy a shirt and pant and come. And he said, sure, Swami. To what size should I buy? Buy for your size. Swami said, Swami, I've done, adorned the
wearing ochre
robe. I can't go back. He said, no, you wear these clothes and go back to your mother and serve her. And it's very important, as you rightly said, the worship of the mother. When you say worship of the mother, it is worship of the divine as the mother.
Correct.
You also worship as the mother as your manifest divinity.
Absolutely.
Right.
At Siddhidatri stage, she is that living God.
Exactly.
She is that living God.
And Swami expands this to another important aspect of Dasara. When we look at the various discourses that Swami would give during Dasara, one more reason why Dasara is a very important event in Prasanthi Nilayam is every year Swami would give 7 or 9 discourses on every day of Dasara. It's an intense period for a sadhaka to be present in Prasanthi Nilayam because we receive so much of wisdom from Swami. So when we look at the various discourses that Swami would give during Dasara, as you rightly said, the worship of the mother, Swami would often say that if you cannot worship the mother who is in front of you, how will you go about worshipping the Lord as mother? Swami says, I think this is a discourse that Swami gave in 88, where he says, everyone should consider it as his foremost duty today to revere the mother as divine and serve her regardless of country or circumstances. If a man cannot respect and serve the mother who has borne him for 9 months, brought him forth into the world and reared him over the years, whom else is he likely to respect? Right? So very clear in his explanation. In fact, whenever Swami speaks about mother, Swami would say that man today first must revere 5 mothers before he is able to revere the divine as the mother. Swami says the first one, as we all know, is the Deha Mata. Then Swami says is Desha Mata, or society as such that fosters him. Then Swami says Go Mata. And then he says the Veda Mata, and of course Bhu Mata, or nature in general. The beautiful thing about all of these is, if you really look at it, the Deha Mata is the only one who consciously provides for you.
Yes.
Right? As you beautifully said about the Skanda Mata, I mean, you are the world for the mother.
Correct.
Right? A mother's world is her child, be that the daughter or the son. So, which means consciously she, converges all her attention and all her energies and all her aspirations and prayers on that child. So consciously the only mother who gives you care is actually the Deha Mata. Then you come at the other, look at the other mothers, you look at Desha Mata, or society as a caregiver. The society cares for everyone. You're not special for society. You're one of the childs of society. If you go to the other forms, let's say Go Mata, the cow does not come and give you the milk. We take it actually, right? So it is not an example of a mother coming and giving you, but an example of we taking from somebody. Similarly, when you talk about Bhu Mata, nature, we take away. But the beautiful aspect of looking at all of these as mothers is, especially if you look at something like Go Mata or Bhu Mata, even though we go and take resources from these mothers, but the moment I start looking at the cow as a mother or as nature as a mother, I will do this process of taking with a little more reverence and a little more idea of sustainability in my mind.
Exactly.
Right? When I look at the cow as the mother, I will have reverence and respect and gratitude when I take from her. So which will automatically express as me taking care of the mother also. Right? And that is why it is so important to look at nature and even cow as mothers, so that we will have a little more reverence in our approach. And finally, when Swami speaks about Veda Mata, again, there is no focused caregiving there. Right? Swami would talk about the rishis who have spent so much time and given us how we should lead our lives. But when Swami would speak about the mother and love for the mother, it is not simply celebrating Mother's Day or gifting them on Mothers. Swami says, what is the best way you can reward a mother? It is through obedience. Right? The mother, if you finally go and ask her, what do you want on your birthday? She'll say, just lead a good life and be a good boy or a good girl and obey me. That will be the best gift you can give a mother. Similarly, Swami says, the best gift you can give to the Veda Mata is obedience. If you can obey the truths that have been told there, and you can fashion your life in a manner that has been revealed through the Vedas, that's the best way. So by looking at nature as mother, by looking at the Vedas as mother, by looking at the cow that sustains you as mother, and every other force in nature and society that sustains you as mother, the way you will revere them will be different. The way you will not take them for granted will be different. And that will reflect in the way you lead your life, right?
Absolutely.
But the final thing, after speaking of all these mothers, especially in some of the discourses, Swami says, but if you look at it, all of these forms of mother are in the Deha Mata.
Exactly.
Right? The mother who takes care of you. That is why you have to finally look at the mother as the manifest form of divinity. So, I mean, Swami roots all of this in real experiences, isn't it?
In fact, Bhagawan says that it is the Deha Mata which educates you also about all other mothers.
The other mothers.
All the mothers. You don't know about everything else. It is this mother who tells you that there are all the other mothers whom you have to revere. And, as you mentioned about the aspect of revering nature, at least, when we are thinking about preserving nature and we are trying to think about sustainable development and all of these, I think if just this attitude change, if it happens in a very serious, conscious way that, yes, nature is there for us to use. Lord and the mother is here to provide us everything. But if that reverence is there, just like we will not exploit our own mother, we will never exploit. And I think if that much is done, that's enough. If that approach or if that idea, that philosophy is deep-seated in our minds, that it is a mother, it is earth who is giving us, I will with reverence accept and take. and I will not hurt her. Be it the cow, be it Mother Earth, even the Veda Mata, we are saying, whatever the scriptures.
It's a difference between looking at it as a resource versus looking at it as a mother whom we have to take care of.
Take care of. And I think that is what is so beautifully enshrined in Indian culture. And when you talk about this Veda Mata and, everything that has been given to us by our sages and saints in the form of mantras and all these scriptural practices, Dasara is always accompanied by the homams, the yagyams that are done in Prasanthi Nilayam. And yagyams have a charm of their own, very difficult to describe the joy of sitting as the mantras are being chanted and all these offerings are made into the fire. It's an ethereal experience. And it's a very, very powerful experience. It's a very energy-filling experience if you're sitting live and being there in the venue, in the Purnachanda auditorium when it's happening. I'm just reminded of how Bhagawan in his discourses in Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha, Swami used to talk about the significance of this sacrifice, and Swami used to say how in modern times people sometimes misunderstand. And Swami said, people say, what is the point of going on pouring ghee into the fire? You would have poured tons of ghee into the fire. Why have you wasted that ghee? Somebody could have, been fed, hundreds, thousands could have been fed with that ghee, and all these things that are being told by critics and rationalists. And Swami says, I want to ask those people who have drunk tons of ghee from the time they are born, what good have they...
Sacks of grains have you consumed? And how
yes,
many
sacks of grains have consumed.
Kilos of
and what good have you done to society? What good has society being benefited from your existence? Swami questions that. Because, we in our very limited minds make all these understandings of scriptures which have come to us through enlightened masters. In fact, I like this analogy. Like, for example, you think of a tribal who is in jungle in Amazon, and imagine suddenly there is a television set in front of that tribal, and he's seeing there are a lot of things happening, and somebody say this is something that is happening thousands of miles away. Then probably the tribal, he will get absolutely flustered. He might think this is all mumbo jumbo. What is all this? This is, maybe there's a ghost inside.
Or look at it as a miracle.
He can get afraid. He might go. He might think, oh, this can spoil me. Right. Or he can think, oh wow, this is a wonder. I am seeing something that is happening. If he believes in it, then he can benefit from it. The same way, Swami says, when we say that Krishna was there at the same time with all the gopikas, Swami says, through television, you are seeing the same image being replicated in so many devices all over the world. If this is what a yantra can do, a machine can do, imagine what a mantra can do, Swami says. So you have no idea of what a mantra, the chants, can do. And just to give an example, sometime back, there was this world's worst chemical disaster in 1984, to be precise, the Bhopal gas tragedy, where 42 tons of a toxic gas got released. It was a man-made accident, and 4 decades have gone by, but still the repercussions of that radioactive elements which got discharged and entered into the bodies of so many people, those negative effects continue. The cancers are 10 times more there, etc., etc. 550 lakh people were affected with partial or complete damage of their organs, etc., etc. But there were a few couple who were completely untouched, though they were living in the same area, in the same compound. Some couple, few families, they escaped this. The moment they heard about this disaster happening, because they were Agnihotri Brahmins, they were used to doing the Agnihotra Homam. They immediately started doing the Homam. So you have to do it in a copper vessel as per the Vedic injunctions, and there are different ingredients that we have to put into that. So they started doing that. And the fumes of this Homam, which entered their bodies, ensured that they were not affected with the radioactive radiation that happened. And the scientific explanation for this, they say, is the fumes of these homams contain the same elements, but not in their radioactive form, in their non-radioactive form. Because those elements are already there in you, even a radioactive element comes to your body, they get rejected. So the rishis, they have given, for very specific reasons, you do it at this time, you do it with this vessel, you pour these ingredients, pour this ghee, pour this cow dung. So we have no idea of the immensity of the Veda Mata that we are talking, that the rishis have given us. And I think that's what we have seen in the homams. When it is done as per scriptural injunctions, you see the effects, right? We have seen in Dasara, in Prasanthi Nilayam, it would always drizzle, isn't it?
Right.
During Dasara.
And there's so many explanations that Swami gives. Of course, logically speaking, we are trying to explain some of these things as much as we can understand, but what is to be understood is way beyond. One of the beautiful explanations that Swami gives is, when you consume food, Swami says food has three parts to it. One is the grossest part of food, which gets excreted from the body. Then there is a subtle part of the food which becomes your nutrients and start nourishing your cells and organs and all of that. And then Swami says there is another aspect of the food which is very subtle, which become your thoughts. So then Swami says, what is that very subtle aspect which become your thoughts? How you procure your food, right? And invariably how you procure your food is through your karma. And when you involve in bad karma, when you cheat people, or when you gather your money through wrong means, all of that start affecting your mind. And then you also feed that to your children, you pass it on to your generation. So all of this will eventually affect your mind. So Swami says how the food is gathered and cultivated also becomes a part of the subtle aspect of the food, which becomes eventually your thoughts. Swami says, look at how this yagna is happening. And when you specifically mentioned about the drizzle, which invariably happens, sometimes it's not just a drizzle, it's a torrent during Dasara. Swami says all of these, the smoke that gets generated during a yajna, Swami says goes and becomes part of the clouds. And that becomes rain, and that nourishes the grains that eventually comes to you as food. And Swami says you really don't understand how much this is affecting the food that is being consumed, and how it is. And this is not localized. The effect of this is not localized. Swami says because this is the very purpose behind the yagna that is performed, as Swami would say, is loka kalyanam, right? It is for the welfare of the whole world. And how this is going to affect the entire world cannot really be logically explained. One thing that Swami says, right? You keep aside the skeptics, keep aside those who question like this. Swami says the avatar of the age has come, and he is presiding over this yagna. That is proof enough for you that this is going to benefit the whole world, right? And so at least if we belong to that category of people who claim that we are devotees of Swami, I think this is good enough. The avatar spent so much of his time and energy, because as people seated in the yagna, we have seen how much time Swami has spent, how much time Swami would simply sit there, how much time Swami would spend in the preparation for that. When the, 1 month before the people come, Swami would say, the pujaris are coming, have you called them, have you booked their tickets? And Swami would start arranging for the dhotis and angavastrams that Swami would give, gathering the material that are going to performing the yagna. So much of the avataric time and energy would go into the performance of this yagna. It can only mean that there is immense benefit to be drawn by the entire world by a process such as this. And needless to say, this is not a one-time event, or this is not an event which standalone is going to benefit all of us. Swami would also say this is a representative of a yagna that has to go on in each one of your lives. In fact, Swami says that this again is a discourse that Swami gave in 1972. Swami says, do not think that the yagna is only this ceremony performed in this enclosure, marked out as specially holy, attended by readings and recitals from sacred texts and chanting of Vedic hymns, and nothing other than this. Yagna is a continuous process. Everyone who lives in the constant presence of God and does all acts as dedicated to God is engaged in yagna. And Swami says this is only a representative of that. And in fact, if we start speaking of yagna and the significance of that, it's endless. Yeah. There is one statement that Krishna makes in the Gita when Arjuna asks, everything is going to bind me, and how do I get out of this karmic cycle? Krishna says, yes, every act binds you except those acts that are performed as a yagna. Which simply means, if you want to really simplify what we do in a yagna, an offering is made and a prasadam is received. Which means if you are able to come to that mental state where you say, every activity that I do is an offering into this yagna, and every consequence thereafter that comes into my life is a prasadam that I receive, you are performing a yagna and you are free from karmic bonds. Right? And when we sit in front of the Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yagna, I think this is the most important thing that we have to keep in mind. In fact, there's another very beautiful thing that Swami says in the same discourse, 72, October 11th. Swami says there are many yagnas, right? We have seen so many homams and yagnas performed in front of Swami. The Chandi homams that have happened in front of Swami. We have seen the Sahasrapurna.
Oh, yes.
Chandra Yagna, which is performed. Swami says this is a very specific yagna, right? There are Ganapati homams that are performed before you. This one, so many things, but Swami says this is a very specific yagna. What is this yagna? It is Veda Purusha Saptaha Jnana Yagna. Who is this Veda Purusha? Swami says it is the Purusha that is mentioned in the Purusha Suktam. And Swami says, what is the description that is given in the Purusha Suktam? Sahasra Shirasa Purusha, which means we are referring to the Purusha who has his hands and feet and head in every tiny bit of this universe. Which means by saying that we are doing this homa to the Veda Purusha, which means the oblations are reaching the Lord who is present in every bit of the world. So this is for Loka Kalyanam, there is no doubt about that. The benefits of this will not be reaped only by those who are seated in the presence of the yagna, but to the entire world. But Swami also adds, when you are seated in front of it and when you are conscious of this yagna happening, because Swami says actually yagna is happening everywhere in the world, but when you are conscious of this yagna happening, you have a better way of accruing benefit from this event that is happening.
Beautiful. When you talk about converting everything that we are doing into an yagna, into an offering, and that's what Swami constantly, in fact, in these early days, when this homam happened and all these villagers, they thought they will bring ghee and they will bring all these items and, they will make this offering. I said, no, this yagna is not that. You don't have to bring anything. If you want to offer anything, offer all those qualities which take you away from God. Offer your kama, offer your krodha, offer your hatred, offer your jealousy. And I think for us, while every act is a yagna, one thing that we can always keep in mind is when we eat, that is also a yagna, because it's the jataragni, it's the fire that is, converting all food into energy. And so that every time we eat, that is when we chant that Brahmarpanam Brahma Havi, it is basically everything that has come from Brahma, we are giving it back to Brahma. He is the one who has given, and he's the one to whom back we are offering everything. And he's the one who's receiving all the offering. So that is the daily yagna. And to me, the miniature yagna that we see every day is when we do bhajan and when we do arati, that there is that flame. And I think every time arati happens, we can think, okay, Swami, whatever happened, during the day, I'm offering everything. You will convert that into nothing. And, you will give me that light and enlightenment. And I think that's a very beautiful thing even for us to think as we, do our bhajan sessions. And you mentioned about Yajna Purusha, the Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapada. I'm reminded of something. that happened in 1960. So generally Dasara would also be accompanied by Narayan Seva. Bhagawan would personally serve food and clothes. So there was this occasion when a devotee, his name is Mr. Menon, so he was trying to control the crowds, a lot of crowds, because all this distribution, and he was trying his level best to bring order into that situation. But there came a point where he could not manage, and people just went in, and there was all pell-mell, and he didn't know what to do. He was standing there. Suddenly Swami calls him. Swami tells him, see, I'm going to come there. You just ensure that everybody is seated in rows and they are properly arranged. And he thought, Swami, what are you asking me to do? Because everything has become chaos now. And he came out of Bhagwan's room, and he saw, to his utter amazement, everybody is seated properly. They are sitting in neat rows, like what he was trying to do for last few probably minutes and hours. It has just happened in an instant. So he's standing there shocked. And Bhagawan comes, and Swami asks him, how is it? And he's speechless, because he's trying to see how did all this happen. And Swami is telling him, Menon, look at the wonderful variety of creation. Swami said, look at the wonderful variety of creation. And that hit him, because until then, he was looking at that mass of people as people who were unruly, who were indisciplined, and he was trying to, and wondering how did all this fall into place. And here Swami was telling, no, that is not how you have to look at this crowd. This is not an ordinary crowd. This is a crowd which has saints and seekers and idlers and idealists, and there are penitents, pensioners, all kinds of people are there. Can you see this as my creation? Look at the wonderful creation, Swami. And like, oh wow. He's still trying to absorb what Swami told him. And then Swami starts distributing personally. And then he also assists Bhagawan. And after some time, he goes back because he just wanted to straighten his back. And then Swami again calls him. And Swami says, look at this entire crowd. Is it not grand? Isn't it very grand? And he says, yes, Swami, it's really grand. There must be at least 3,000 people. It's really grand, Swami. I said, no. I'm not talking about the numbers. I am saying the Shanti and the Ananda that is there on their faces. How is that? How is the peace and bliss that you see on their faces? And to Menon, these two instances when Swami just spoke two simple sentences, but for him, it was the entire Vedanta. On one hand, Swami is telling the entire creation is that Sahasra Shisha Purishaha. And Swami is saying, ultimately, what we have to look for and what we experience and what matters at the end, what should be our vision, is Shanti and Ananda, that peace and bliss. And this peace and bliss can come only when we revere the Shakti principle. Everything around us is energy, and that is that energy principle. Swami says, when you fill it with prema, when Shakti is filled with prema, then it becomes Parashakti. That Parashakti we worship as the divine principle. It is the Shakti principle when it is filled with prema. And I think when our Shakti that God has given us is filled with prema, when it becomes prema Shakti, then automatically what we see around us, everything is the manifestation of Parashakti, and what we will experience is peace and Ananda. And I think that is the vision, that is the destination, and that is the goal of Dasara, all the sadhana that we do during Dasara, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it cannot be said enough how really fortunate we are. I'm reminded of a very sweet episode that happened to a student. I think it must have been in Trai, Vrindavan, or any one of those places where the students get to sit very close to Swami. So there was the student who was sitting right in front of Swami. He happened to be a student of biosciences and who was very keen to join and become a doctor eventually. right? So he was always fascinated by nature and observing flowers and leaves and all of these things. So he was sitting in Swami's presence in front of Swami, and he had the opportunity to do Padaseva. And he was very intently looking at Swami's feet, right? And Swami observed it, and Swami said, "What are you looking at my feet like that for?" And this boy, being, as I said, a student of biology, he said, "Swami, I am observing the veins in the feet, on your feet." And Swami said, "What did you observe?" He said, "Swami, generally, people have the same vein pattern on both legs." He says, "In your feet, it is different. In the left feet, it is different from the right feet, and it's very unique." And then Swami said, "Don't you know? That is why I tell you, I am Shiva Shakti, right? I am the mother and the father." And Swami would say, "That is why I say Sai Baba." This, if actually look at it, it is a very significant philosophy in Vedanta itself. Because it is said, Krishna also says in the Gita, that there are two types of manifestations, the para prakriti and the apara prakriti. What we worship during the Dasara festival is what we refer to as the apara prakriti, which is the Lord who has manifested as everything else. Right? The para prakriti is the supreme principle. When Swami says, "I am Sai Baba, the mother and the father," it means he is a manifestation of the para and the apara. Right? It is literally the bridge that can take us from this mundane existence to that supreme state. And to be seated in the presence of the Veda Purusha and to observe events such as this. When Swami says that every act of yours can become a yagna, Swami says, in one of the discourses, he says, "Observe carefully what happens in this yagna. There is a ritual sacrifice," which means, what is a ritual sacrifice? It is an upasana. You're doing an act. You're taking some grains and putting it in the fire. You're taking some ghee and putting it in the fire. It's a physical activity, but you're overlaying it with a thought that I am offering this to God. Right? That is what is an upasana. Upasana is a superimposition of a thought over a physical activity. That is the first thing that you have to do in your everyday life. Whatever you do it as an offering to God. You're a doctor, you're a teacher, whatever you are, do that mundane activity, superimpose it with the thought that this is my form of worship to Swami. That is one level. Then Swami says every Dasara Yajnam is also, as you very rightly pointed out, there is charity involved in it. Right? So there is a yagna, and Swami says there is dana or charity, and there is tapas, or a process of internal purification, which we also made a mention of right in the beginning. So which means if your everyday life has to become a yagna, all these three have to be there. There should be the idea of I'm offering it to Swami. There should be some form of charity, which means your everyday existence should be beneficial to the others around you. And thirdly, there should be this constant striving for internal purification. And that is when this yagna, which we are so blessed to witness, can become a part of our life, can be internalized. How much more grateful can we be? Because the Lord manifests in front of us as that mother. The Lord teaches us how we can worship the entire universe as the mother, and also gives us this process of internal purification. And he says that I have come as the mother and father. I have come to take you to the ultimate state. I think every Dasara should be an opportunity for us to internalize this message and strive more.
Absolutely. So as we celebrate, let us internalize him and let this Dasara fill us with this light, with this enlightenment, and let it lead us towards purification and liberation. Thank you so much, Saram.